DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined now by David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. David, good morning.
It's a Friday, DJ PK. My life is complete. I talk to my buddies, my longtime friends. It's probably a statement of my life that I think you use close friends when you have to talk to me and it's obligated. And yeah, okay, never mind. No, it's too deep.
Wow.
Not true. I've sought out you many times when I didn't have to because I wanted to.
That's nice of you. Thank you, PK.
That's
wow.
true.
What does it mean about my life that PK is my uplifting part right now?
I
Wow,
valued
awesome.
your input on some important topics.
Well, I value you too, my friend. What do we do with David, though?
Just ignore me.
Okay.
Yeah. I value your opinion, especially around this time of year. I know you love to get into the trade deadline. You talk to people. You get to be in NBA arenas and talk to people before games when they can really say what they're thinking with no cameras or microphones around. And I'm reading a bunch of stuff now, and I thought this week when I was reading it, should I even be wasting my valuable time reading this, or should I just take a nap? Because everything seems to be couched in, but it's going to be really hard with the salary cap, luxury tax, second apron, blah, blah, blah. And I think you've told us that multiple times. So is this trade deadline going to pass without any real news, either for the Jazz or around the NBA, even the whole Jimmy Butler saga?
No, I mean, I think there'll be real news, but I do think it's hard to make deals. I think the collective bargaining agreement is having some unintended consequences, one of which is dampening the trade market, but dampening the trade market because the Phoenixes, Milwaukee's, Denvers, who are, tight on these aprons or actually in them, it's so difficult for them to make a deal that it almost takes them out of the market or limits the amount of things. So you just don't have as many suitors for players. Like, we could play a fun game right now. I don't know if it'd be that fun. But we just start listing players that we've heard are available, right? So, like, I go first and I say Jeremy Grant, and you say Anthony Simons, and someone else says Zach LaVine, and then somebody else says John Collins, and then somebody else says Jordan Clarkson, and then somebody else says Cameron Johnson, and we just kind of run down the list, and we'd end up with naming 15 to 17 players right now that have all been mentioned as possibilities of becoming available by the trade deadline. And I would ask you, are any of them different than any other? Like, if somebody's trying to make a trade and needs a scoring guard and they end up with Anthony Simons or Colin Sexton, is that different?
What do you mean by different?
They have a much better chance to win title.
Oh, okay.
Last year, you get Colin Sexton or Anthony Simons. Like, if any player of those, 17 players that are being mentioned to be available move the meter more than any of the others to winning a playoff series?
Well, I guess I'd have to see where they go, but on their own merit, probably not. But,
Okay.
what is – I mean, the
Right.
Hornacek
Yeah, yeah.
trade greatly enhanced the Jazz, and he came from a losing team.
Right, but he was all-star, pretty good player.
Right, but not with Philadelphia
Yeah, right.
in terms of winning and losing.
But so, okay, work with yes, there is a chance that one of these players could go to a team. It's a particularly good fit, really prosper. But on the surface at this moment, I don't think there's a really big dramatic difference from one guy to the other. Can we kind of all agree on that?
I think Kessler could really help what the Lakers are trying to do.
Okay, I don't think Walker Kessler's going to the Lakers unless they're trading their 2031 first-round draft pick.
Well, if they trade Kessler, the kitchen sink better be included.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so of the players I think are movable, I think there's a huge difference. The first part of this, which was the limited amount of in-state trades right now.
Hey, David, you're breaking up. You're breaking up pretty badly. Can you go stand near a window or something? You're breaking up pretty badly.
Is this better right now?
That's better.
Sorry, must have been just in like a weird spot. I was sitting. I sat down and stopped moving. I'll go back to moving. I'm much more comfortable doing that.
That is a sacrifice, we realize.
For you.
Wow, I was actually trying to be super good right there and like really focus and sit down and not be moving bags and doing all the other stuff. I was like, heck with it. We're going back to moving bags. So you couple what I said about Denver, Milwaukee, and those teams that they are not as flexible or able to make deals. And now all of a sudden you have 13, 14 players that are all really similar that are on the market. It just feels like you're just not going to get much for a guy, right? Like I call up the Jazz and I say, hey, I really want John Collins. And Justin says, great. He's been incredible. He's almost 50, 40, 90. We'll take a first. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not giving a first. And Justin's like, well, I need a first. Well, then that same team then picks up the phone and calls any of the next 7 teams that have a player available and finds which one's willing to give up a player without giving up a first-round pick. It just feels like the market is not yielding to anyone getting a lot for these players. So there's going to be activity. Players are going to move, but I don't think you're going to see great yield for those players. But there's still going to be activity, and players are going to move.
Right. I mean, we usually do that. When we see that, we usually see that every year. So I would think that there would be, what you're saying is exactly the truth. So back to Kessler, if they include that unprotected, would you do it?
Whew. To some extent at that point, you're just drafting the player that's going to replace Walker. You're just at 20. If you trade Walker, at some point you're just like drafting, looking for a 7-footer that can protect the rim. So, obviously I talked to Justin this week. He just traded for a 2031 unprotected pick. There's really a big belief in the league that, or at least from Justin, that, unprotected picks are gold. That you can't find them. People don't give them up. To have them as your own asset in the trade market is really incredible.
Right.
So I guess you'd have to consider it. I think Walker, Walker's like a piece, not like a piece, like a piece like a top 10 or top 20 player in the NBA piece of this thing when it all comes together, but he's a piece of it.
No question.
He's really good.
His skill set is very valuable and integral to winning teams.
And really hard to find. Hard to find. So, I got asked today on I do kind of, a listener question. And one of the questions was is Walker available? Yeah, Walker's available. Luka, Walker's available. Walker's available. Because there's only one player in the entire NBA who's not available right now. And that's Victor. If San Antonio called Denver and said, we'll send you Victor for Nikola, they say yes, right? Denver says yes, right?
That's a tough one. I get your point.
Oh, if you're going by age, then yes.
Yeah, and the youth helps.
So I'm of a believer that there's one player in the NBA that's not available. So is Walker available? Sure. Do I think pulling Walker from the Jazz right now? My quick reaction is I need more than 2031 unprotected.
Yeah, fine.
I already
okay.
got.
Yeah.
If I'm drafting today in an NBA draft and I want to make sure that I'm going to get a elite rim defender, best offensive rebounder in the NBA, 25-minute-a-night player.
Yeah.
Don't I have to be drafting top 8?
No, I'm with you. So I said the kitchen sink better be included.
I think I would need more than an unprotected pick for Walker at this point.
I think there's 2 players that are not tradable, Wembanyama and Cooper Flagg.
That was I'll be honest, a question I didn't answer was how many first-round picks would you trade for Cooper Flagg? I haven't seen enough of him be able to answer that question and answer it correctly, but yeah, like I do remember the thought, like when Victor came out, that there you couldn't have actually traded. There wasn't a roster that you could put together every player on the roster and get San Antonio to give up that number one pick.
Maybe the West All-Star starters.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's literally what you're talking about. Like, and obviously the salary cap can't do that. So,
Right.
I think that's it's kind of a crazy, but that is a little bit of what we're talking about here. It's like, yeah, I mean, Cooper Flagg looks like he's really good.
Yes. And he didn't turn 18 until last month.
No, and like, let's not kid ourselves. He's an American. Like, it matters. And if you want to take the next step, he's a white American.
He would be
We haven't
the
had an
first,
American.
first
we haven't had
white
an
American drafted first since Kent Benson.
Yeah, right. It's sad that matters, but I don't know why it matters, but it matters. Like, what does it matter for? I don't know. Marketing, I guess, not basketball.
Well, you only need to look at Caitlin Clark.
Right. No, I mean, the league, I feel like on the whole discussion of the league, of where the league is right now, I do think the little bit of what's going on is that we're fatigued. We have LeBron and Steph fatigue. We've seen enough. And they're not as good as they once were. So we've watched this for 20 years, and they're not as good as they once were. And then every other star is foreign. So let's ignore the race for a second and just say that you're getting an American. Like, Jason Tatum's the best American. Donovan's probably the second best.
The Canadians, you don't count? And most of them played college ball here.
Like Shea,
Yeah.
Shea, right?
He's the guy.
I mean, Shea went to high school in West Virginia, so yeah, probably. I don't know.
But
that's a good point.
It's a very small market.
Yeah, I don't know. I have not. And honestly, it's like maybe that's garbage because it's not as though American fans have had a hard time embracing Giannis or Luka or seem to be having a hard time with Victor. John Morant goes into this conversation too. John Morant's actually the one that actually tipped me to the thing. I thought the immediate attachment of John Morant was quick, but maybe that's just because he can actually fly, and so that's really freaking cool when someone can actually fly. I don't know. It's interesting. I do think that's my just general take on the league a little bit right now is that we're in the same post-Jordan transition than we were with Iverson and some of those guys when the league kind of scuffled for a little bit for, I think, everyone trying to find their bearings of who they're following. I don't buy some of I certainly don't think the TV ratings are the answer to how you should be judging a league, but I do feel like there's just that issue. But anyway, that's a side note.
I think that makes sense the more I think about it here, as you just brought it up.
Yeah. But yeah, Cooper Flagg's really good. He's 18 years old. He's great. Be super fun if he decided to help us with 14% chance and get him in Utah. That'd be awesome.
Amen.
I mean, seriously, awesome. Wow. I mean, that's what's crazy about this is this is not that much, right? This is not that much fun for Jazz fans. I got it. Hey, let's talk about development over wins. Woohoo! Hey, we developed tonight. I got it. There's nothing. It's not fun for anyone, frankly. But boy, you dangle that carrot out there of I get to call 82 games of Cooper Flagg next year, and it's oh, okay.
Yep.
And everybody, the word, if you want the number one murmur around the league right now, when I'm talking to scouts and GM, it's all about 2026, frankly. They're all going out right now to see the high school seniors, and they're just coming back talking about it's better than the 2025 draft.
And that makes me think that there's one more year of this for Jazz fans with a top 8 protected pick next year.
Yeah. With a top 8 protected pick, that's the number one line you need right there. Yes.
Yep.
But also, the logical starting lineup next year for the Jazz is probably something on the line of Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Cooper Flagg, Lowry Markkanen, Walker Kessler, with a bench of draft pick, Cody Williams, Taylor Hendricks, draft pick.
Will there be enough salaries coming off the books this summer that the trade market opens up? Because obviously we know Markkanen can't be traded until the summer. There's already talk about Collins because he's shooting the lights out and everybody wants shooting. is it as difficult as it might be to move a salary now? Does it get a lot easier in the summer?
Well, I actually think that the chances are in this trade deadline or at the next trade window, which is the off season, that the Jazz would bring salary on. Right? Like if you go, the deals that are going to win, assuming Oklahoma City does not win the title this year, the deals that are going to win Oklahoma City the title are their deal with Philadelphia where they took Al Horford and Danny Green's salary and now are going to get a top 10 pick that they add to an already great team. And they have a bunch of those that are all lined up to come together. So I would suspect that if anything, we see the Jazz take on somebody else's bad contract for a future pick and eats that contract for, to be able to pay for that, to get making it worth getting that pick. So that's where I think the trade market opens up for the Jazz. But I actually think it's a year from now because Colin's got another year, Jordan's got another year, and John has a player option.
All right, we got to run. We got Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator, coming up next, David, so we got to stay on time. You're the man,
All
though.
right. See you guys.
Thank you. David Locke, radio voice of the Jazz. A-Rod's coming up next, right here on The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Football is the ultimate team sport, yet we get focused on the individual, the quarterback. And isn't it funny that basketball is not the ultimate team sport, yet the rap on LeBron's teammates for his entire career is, boy, his teammates aren't good enough. LeBron didn't win, man, it's because he doesn't have good enough teammates. Yeah. It's like if there is a team sport where one player can do it all, it is basketball. Yeah. But in football, where for the quarterback to complete a pass, there's like 15 different things that have to go right by everyone else on the field. In basketball, you can just stand aside and watch LeBron run over a guy.
Yeah. I mean, you can say Saquon carried that team, but it's like, go look at all the blocking he got. Go look at
from everybody.
From a basically perfect offensive line in Philadelphia.
In basketball, you truly can be like, hey, LeBron, go run over that guy.
Hey, Shaq.
But yet we're like, LeBron's teammates aren't good enough. It's all their fault.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contests and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. And DJ, if he keeps calling plays that leads to touchdowns, he will be the Hercules Hero of the Week.
Fact. Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator, joins us now. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning. What's up, guys?
You, resting on your laurels, feet up, taking January off, basking in the 11-2 season. Am I wrong? I assume.
We've definitely arrived, yes.
Yes, you're right. I'm totally.
Vacation every day, you know how it goes.
Excellent. Before we look forward, I want to look back. And you said something last summer that got my attention because Jerry Sloan said it about professional basketball players, and you're coaching college football players, and how much overlap can there be? But when I was talking to you last summer, hey, 5-7, and you got to get better, and why is that going to happen, and why are you so optimistic? No matter what question I asked you, you always came back with the word continuity. Continuity. We have guys who have been in the program the second year. There isn't as much change. The continuity is going to pay off. And as the season unfolded, I thought, see, Aaron Roderick's answers, the lineup with Jerry Sloan's answers, tend to be pretty smart answers. And I'm sure you want more of that going forward. I'm curious, how do you do that given the current rules in football? And over time, did you see other things play into this season that even if you can't hold on to the continuity, you can use those things, these other things that helped you win?
Yeah, continuity was huge. Man, that's the first time anyone's ever mentioned me in the same breath as Jerry Sloan. What an honor.
You're welcome. But seriously, when you said that, I heard that. Jerry said guys have to be with a team for a third year, and then in a sport where you don't get to huddle up, right? Guys just look at each other, and they know. They know where a guy's going to rotate on defense. They know where he's going to cut on offense. They just look at each other, and they know from the body language. And he relished when that finally happened.
Yeah, I agree with Coach Sloan on that one, and I did say that last summer that I thought we had so many returning players that had been in the offense for a year, played together. Where the year before we were like a whole new team, and and I feel like that was a huge factor this year for sure. And you saw guys like Caleb Etienne, who, to be perfectly honest, 2 years ago struggled mightily and lost his starting position, and this past season he's first team all conference and going to get drafted. And what a difference a year made, just knowing what he's doing and playing with for 2 years in Waylon Lapuaho at right guard or left guard. Those types of things they really do matter, and the chemistry you have between perimeter players with the quarterback, and even just ball handling things, handing the ball off on a jet sweep, those types of things take hundreds and hundreds of reps. And the longer guys are in the program, the more likely they are to be able to execute in big games.
As I've seen you develop as a coach, Aaron, I really think you're a cross between Andy Reid and Bill Parcells. And so with that in mind, I can't even say it with a straight face. January is a big recruiting month. Coaches are all over the place. My wife teaches at a school here in the Valley, and she's told me all the coaches that have come through these last couple of weeks, and it's been everybody and their dog, really, as she's said, saw their shirts that they wear. I'm wondering, given the fact that you got the Big 12 in the conference that you're in and also the success that you've had, how much buzz has there been for you guys at BYU on the recruiting trail this month?
First of all, I lost you for a second. I think you made some – DJ complimented me about comparing me to Sloan. I think you just threw a jab at me.
No, I did not. No, I did not. I said, I see your development as a coach. It's very similar to what I've seen in Andy Reid and Bill Parcells.
Okay, well, thanks. Anyway, recruiting-wise, yeah, it's been a busy month, and I would say, yeah, success always helps. There's a little bit of at BYU we're looking at a pretty targeted group of guys. I don't think it used to be kind of easy to just say, well, we're always going to get who we're going to get at BYU, and I think that's kind of a lazy approach. And
right.
I don't think that's accurate at all. We are trying to up our game constantly. We're not going to rest on our laurels, and we're trying to get better at every position. And I think we're being pretty well received everywhere we go. I think, being in this conference helps, and then winning games in this conference helps even more. And so I think, you've already seen us bring in some good players, and I think there's going to be more every year, and we're going to just keep trying to upgrade. That's the goal. You have to keep trying to get better because everybody else is too. And it's highly competitive, but I think we're doing well. And, we're hanging in there with some really good teams, and I think we're going to have a chance to be a good team again next year.
Well, the reason why I say it is, we know the guys you get, the LDS guys, we understand that, and then supplement a little bit. But you look at what Kevin Young's done in the basketball. He's gotten the number one recruit in the country coming, and he doesn't fit the typical BYU profile, so to speak. So I'm thinking that, well, if he's doing it in basketball, you guys should be able to do it in football.
Yeah, I think just even with some of the guys that played really well for us this year are maybe not typical of who BYU would have gotten in the past, but all those guys have fit in great and been great, great representatives of BYU and great of our program and played well on the field, and so I think it's been a good lesson for all of us, man. You have to recruit the right guys that fit this place, but you can't just assume that people can't fit here. You got to do your homework, and you got to get out there and hustle and work at it. And Keelan Marion, Atlanta, Georgia, man, that he loves it here, and he's just one example of a really good football player that probably wouldn't have been recruited here back when I played. And so that's just one guy of many on this team right now that are doing great things for us.
How much can Jake Retzlaff improve, and where can he improve going forward in a sport that's so quarterback dependent?
Yeah, great question. So I think Jake had a good year. I think he's sort of right on track of like the normal kind of development that the good quarterbacks that have played here were on. I think it's pretty interesting to look at his junior year stats compared to some of the other junior year quarterbacks that played here, whether it's recently like Zach Wilson or a long time ago like Steve Young. Statistically very, very similar. And so the goal is to take that jump that those other guys took senior year. And so this year he's 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I don't talk a lot about stats, but I have said directly to him, next year we need to be in the 30 touchdowns plus with single-digit interceptions. And that's what Zach did his senior year. That's what Jaron did. And if you do that, those are winning numbers. Those aren't just numbers to get you all-conference votes. Those are numbers that help you win games. And then the other one is I think we really need to improve our completion percentage. We need to be up around 70% completions next year. And we were just too many times this year we're not quite on the same page. I think there's a lot of things Jake can do to improve his accuracy, just improve footwork, and then also just more repetition, more practice with our returning receivers. We have a lot of players coming back that have played a lot of football, and I think that's a reasonable expectation to get back up in that 70% completion range like we were with Zach and Jaron, and like the good quarterbacks in the past have been. And so I think if we can make those are quantifiable things that he can do next season that will lead to more points and hopefully another couple wins.
Robert said he's coming back. How about Lassiter?
Well, that situation is complicated with the junior college guys. You know, it's I'm probably not the best person to explain it, but I think the deal with the quarterback from Vanderbilt led everyone to believe that maybe all the junior college guys were going to get another year. But now we're finding out that doesn't necessarily apply to all JUCO guys. And so I think he's got to, it's a tough decision. Do you wait around to find out what's going to happen on that ruling, or do you just move on and make the most of your opportunity to try to make it in the NFL? And I can't speak for him right now where he's at on that, but that is a complicated question that's going to be going through the court system and stuff, and I think it's going to end up in the court system. I don't know exactly how that's going to go, but so I can't really comment for him. But we have Parker Kingston coming back, who had a heck of a year, and we have Keelan Marion coming back, who had a great year, and Chase, and got good running backs returning, offensive linemen. So we have a chance to be good on offense. I think we should take another big step forward.
You speak of that offensive line, you lose some talent there, but also some leadership, which can be very, very important. And you got Gentry coming in. Speak to what you've got going there in terms of personnel.
Yeah, I mean, we're for sure going to miss Connor Pay and Caleb Etienne. The one thing that gives me peace of mind, though, is Bruce Mitchell played his butt off this year at center for us. He's a converted defensive lineman who the first game he ever played in his life at center was starting against Kansas State, and he went out and played great. And so I'm really excited about him, and I just think we have, even though we're losing a couple of good leaders, we're a program that I think one of the strengths of Kalani's program is the way he develops leadership, and I think that these other guys are going to step up, and we should not skip a beat there. That was probably the biggest difference between 2023 and 2024 was the improvement at offensive line, and we're nowhere near where we want to be yet, but we made a huge improvement, and I think those guys will take another big step forward next year.
We always hear the losses hit coaches harder than they celebrate the wins. I thought the Colorado win, there were a lot of eyeballs on the program that night. 8 million people watching on TV. Who knows how many recruits. And you came up big, and I'm sure that Kansas loss hurt. So for you, have you let them both go at this point? Does the loss hurt more than the win? How does that work out for you?
Well, the loss hurts more than the win, yeah. That one hurt, but you have to move on. I mean, you can't dwell on either one. You just, now that the season's over, you look at it in its totality. I'm proud of our team for finishing the right way. 11 wins, for a team that people expect us to not be very good. And the thing that I'm most proud of for our players, at least, is there really is no comparison to any team in the past with this team as far as, we beat 9 power conference teams this year. And a couple years ago, we beat 5 or 6. And then prior to that, no BYU team had ever beaten more than 3. And ever. And so it's hard to even, it's a really, really big accomplishment, I think, to beat 9 power conference teams in only our second year, and I'm proud of our players for that. And now you've got to put the losses behind you and the wins behind you as well, and sort of try to use it as momentum and understand that we're going to have a target on our backs next year. We're not going to sneak up on anyone. And so next step is, how do you one-up yourself when people are expecting you to be good? And that's going to be the challenge of this offseason is handling success.
How much of this success that you've been having is directly related to Coach Satake?
Oh, tons of it. I mean, he deserves most of the credit. It starts with just having a program where it's fun to come to work every day. Our players and coaches love coming in the building. I think everybody, to a man, looks forward to whatever tasks are in front of them the next day. And whether that's weightlifting or running or practice or a game, we like coming to work. And Kalani he just creates an environment where it's almost it sounds almost cheesy, but there's a lot of love in the building. I think there's a lot of people who care about each other, teammates, coaches, both directions, and it makes it fun. And so I'm enjoying the heck out of it, and that healthy atmosphere, I think, leads to a lot of trust, and our players play really hard because they don't want to let him down. I mean, I really believe that our players play hard out of a love for him, and that's pretty cool.
You used the whatever you want to call it, the Wildcat, in that bowl game, and I'm wondering, maybe had you thought of using it earlier in the season? And how about next year? I don't know who's going to be the backup quarterback or if you'd have a Wildcat, but that was something that was effective there in that bowl game. So what about maybe using it again next year, and should you have used it earlier this year?
Yeah, I felt bad the pass play we tried didn't work out. In bowl games, you get a chance to practice some things that people aren't expecting, and so they happened to run a coverage on that play that we had not seen all season long, and Gary didn't handle that one well. But the run plays we did were effective, and yes, we did talk about using it earlier in the season, and I want to tell you what an awesome guy Gary Bohannon is. We brought it up to him earlier in the season, and his answer to me was, "Coach, I'll do whatever you want, but I don't want to mess with Jake's rhythm." He said, "I've been in that situation before where you're rotating quarterbacks in and out, doing Wildcat stuff." And he said, "Jake won the job fair and square. Just let him play. And if he gets injured, I'll be ready to come in." And that was his answer. And I actually asked him that. I think it was game 2 or 3 in the season. We had an idea about how to use him in the red zone. And he was willing, but he's such a good teammate, he didn't want to mess with Jake getting into a rhythm early in the season. And then once we got into that rhythm, especially in mid-season, that middle section of the season, Jake was playing pretty well, and so we decided not to mess with it for a while. And maybe we should have busted it out in November because Jake got a little bit beat up, and I kind of have some regrets about that. But that's what a great guy Gary Bohannon is, and what a great teammate he is. And so in the bowl game though, we brought it up, and Jake said, "Heck yeah, let's do this." You know, he wanted to get Gary in the game, and I think you guys saw how excited all his teammates were when he unfortunately came up about 6 inches short of a touchdown on that first drive.
And maybe use it next year, do you think?
It's always in the bag. You know, I did it when I coached up the road with multiple guys, and there's a lot of fun things you can do. So just depends on who's on your roster and who's ready to go in there and make things happen.
Do you want to coach into your 70s? I ask because Pete Carroll just signed a 3-year deal, or is signing one apparently. He's going to be the Raiders' new head coach. So, you know, he could be your role model, A-Rod. You don't have to give this up. You got a lot of good years in front of you.
Well, I see a lot of Pete Carroll in A-Rod.
Nice.
I do not want to coach in my 70s, but I have a four-year-old, so maybe I'll have to.
Okay, all right, nice. The way coaching salaries are going, you'll be okay.
Well, Nick Saban did, and I don't see much difference between Nick Saban and A-Rod.
Nice.
I have a daughter going to University of Chicago next year, and so I got to figure out how to pay for that tuition too. So
now that's serious.
In my 80s, yeah.
That's serious. Congratulations on that, University of Chicago. That's big time right there. That's not power athletics, but it's power academics for sure.
Yep, she's a smart kid.
There you go. All right, thank you, A-Rod. We appreciate it.
Hey, great talking to you guys.
All right, there's Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator. Reminds me a lot of George Halas.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always call him Vince.
Nice.
Well, I don't want to be left out here.
I agree. Kevin Graham is talking AFC and NFC championship games coming up in about 15 minutes right here on The Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
General manager of the Utah Hockey Club, Bill Armstrong. There's an expectation when you're a hockey player that you have to be tough. Does that get elevated another level when you're a captain? Because that was just a hell of a moment to see Keller back on the ice and the way the crowd responded when they saw him, too.
Yeah, they got a standing O. It was impressive. I think you have to lead that way. I think you got to have a little blood on your jersey and on your face. You know, you got to pay a price. And that's just the way it is in our sport. You know, you don't get time off when you're bleeding. And that's a good thing. And that's always the way it's been, and it hasn't really changed. You're expected, you know, to come back. And, you know, that's what he did. Not only that, but he came back flying. He's been one of our hottest players down the stretch here, and he just continues to impress. And, you know, I think he inspired the crowd, but he also inspired his teammates.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. PK, you've said many times, you never know on coaching hires, but you have a gut instinct. Did you have immediate positive, negative reaction to Pete Carroll? Knowing full well you never know.
Well, the NFL is about winning now, and obviously he's older, and he didn't want to be let go. And so he essentially that was a dismissal, which means he's been fired 3 times. Right? Didn't he have 2? Was it 2 prior NFL head coaching jobs?
New York Jets and the New England Patriots.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He actually,
I don't even remember the Jets.
Yeah,
well, and that's the thing. They pointed out Aaron Glenn, who got hired as the Jets head coach, his first round pick in 1994.
Right. And he bounced back well from those.
Yep.
So, you know, let's see. You got to have somebody pulling the trigger, and I don't know that they've got that right now. So it might be a little harder, but I'm not going to bet against them.
They need a quarterback. They've had 2 winning seasons in 22 years.
Yeah, guy, that's the same.
Nowhere to go.
Pull the trigger.
Nowhere to go but up. Get a QB.
I love guys who are motivated. To prove people wrong.
And he would definitely have the chip on his shoulder.
I've kind of been there a
Seattle.
few times.
Yeah.
And it works.
DJ PK will come back with Kevin Graham talking AFC NFC title game and Raider coaching hire. Next, stay with us.